Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank weekend preview brought to you by First NBC Bank with 35 locations throughout the metropolitan New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. SEC Media Days, Les Miles took the stage on Thursday, and he was, well, for lack of a better description, Les Miles.
Sounds good to me. You know, he had the want to go up there and and say good things about his Tigers. Talked about his trip to Cuba, a lot of other things.
It's a communist country.
And it was a 20-minute monologue. Would have made probably Jimmy Fallon and others who do monologues for a business very proud. And then took some questions out there, but less is less, shall we say? And hopefully you played along on your bingo card. If not, check the highlights and check out our bingo card at SportsNOLA.com and play along and see if you can just yell Miles or bingo or want or strong or pick your favorite catchphrase to throw in there.
Somehow he cited advantages along the way, right?
Of course he did. Quarterback play and you name it. There's there's always something when it comes to Les.
There really is. I'm speechless when it comes to some of the things he says. But LSU is regarded as perhaps the favorite to win the SEC this year by many. Tulane has its baseball coach introduced on Thursday, Travis Jewett, the new head coach at Tulane. And obviously this is a guy that has the qualifications based upon what Tulane is all about and based upon what he's done. The only question is being a head coach, which he has not been.
Yeah, and the next thing I want to see is this. Who's his staff? And that will certainly tell us a lot about things going forward. Is he going to reach back into any kind of Tulane ties? As I mentioned in my story earlier this week at SportsNOLA.com, is that something that he will look to do, or will he look to bring in perhaps his people? I think you need to be, his background up until Vanderbilt was all on the West Coast. Could he pluck somebody off of the Vanderbilt staff from a lower rung and give him a promotion here at Tulane? Could he reach to the West Coast and try to bring somebody here? There's one coach who did not go to Texas. Could he be a part of the staff as well? So let's see. That's the next thing I want to see in this, and obviously he's got to hit the ground running and try to recruit as well.
Great news for LSU baseball with Paul Mainieri getting the word that Jared Poche is remaining for his senior season. That's a bit unusual for a pitcher that gets drafted in the mid-round section because pitchers typically sign.
They do. Left-handed pitchers too. But he put a number out there. The number wasn't met, and he told the San Diego Padres, I am going back to school for my senior year. He's got a chance to really do some special things as a senior. There's some career records in sight for him. Obviously, there's a great opportunity there as well, along with Lang, to really be that 1-2 punch. I would think with what LSU has coming back and barring any last-minute changes with the deadline of Friday, I think LSU's got a shot to be a preseason top 5 team next year.
I do as well, much like their football program, very similar animals with the experience that they have coming back. And then, of course, speaking of LSU baseball, Alex Bregman is in town playing against the New Orleans Zephyrs with the Fresno Grizzlies. For how long, we don't know, because a lot of word out there that he might not be in AAA for very long.
Yeah, now the late indication was on Wednesday that he's not going up this weekend, even though there were some reports on Tuesday night that suggested differently. So barring any injuries or some kind of late change of heart, he should be in New Orleans the entire weekend with Fresno. What happens after that remains to be seen. Look, we know he's going to the big leagues. It's just a question of when at this point, and he's obviously a special talent. He's going to have to play third base when he gets to the big leagues. But look, as much as the Astros shift, this was an interesting point that was brought up out there. As much as the Astros shift, especially with left-handed hitters, he's going to be playing basically at shortstop when he's playing third base. He'll be by himself on that side of the infield. He won't have a third baseman with him, but that's the new wave of baseball, so to speak.
Really good news for Loyola University and its athletic program, basketball in particular, as their basketball court, where I've broadcast a lot of games, is getting a new look, a new feel, a new sponsor, and the building, the rec complex, is getting a little bit of a renovation too, courtesy of
these guys.
Those guys. First NBC Bank. So congratulations to Loyola and Brett Simpson and the entire athletic department for that nice gift with a good company.
Yeah, and look, one of the things that you and I have had a chance to learn is First NBC Bank is a local bank who wants to do things for its community first, and that they know their mark is in New Orleans, although they're expanding out there. They've gone into Florida, but really they are a New Orleans bank first and foremost and want to do things to help the New Orleans community, and this is just another example of that.
It certainly is. Where the Pelicans are concerned, the latest name linked to the team is Terrence Jones, and of course Summer League play has concluded. Not the kind of shooting performance you wanted to see Buddy Hield have throughout. He had one quarter where he was red hot, otherwise didn't shoot it very well, but I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that.
No, it's Summer League. And look, you're not playing with the players you're going to be playing with for the most part, come October, November when the season gets rolling. So, it's just I take a wait-and-see approach on all of that.
Last but not least, we hope you're enjoying our series on the Saints coaches, the head coaches in the history of the franchise, all 16. The interim coaches, we're just about done with them and ranking them, and then, of course, we'll do the permanent head coaches. And I put the interims at the bottom because they were interim. Some of those interim coaches probably were better than their regular head coaches, but because of the fact that they were interim, I just thought that you couldn't put them ahead of permanent head coaches.
Totally agree, and look forward to seeing. And I don't think it's going to be a big surprise who's 1 and 2 on that list, but interesting to see how 3 through 10 of the permanent head coaches kind of shake themselves out.
Yeah, I look forward to it. And, of course, still to come, our top 50 players in New Orleans Saints history as we unveil that at SportsNOLA.com. Lenny, as always, thanks. Have a great weekend.
All right. Have a great weekend as well. Jude will be in with me next week in this spot as you get some well-deserved time off. Yeah,
I'm on assignment.
That's it. On
we like to say. So, it's not misleading. I am on assignment. I might even write something. Who knows? At a ballpark somewhere. Stay tuned. That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank, with 35 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. Hope you enjoy the weekend. I know we will. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. God bless.